Okay, so picture this. You've got this reserved office worker, right? He's staring down his 40th birthday like it's just 3 months away. And he makes this secret list, 10 things he really wants to do before hitting the big 4-0. And then, bam, his super charming, handsome junior colleague accidentally stumbles across it.
Oh, no.
And not only finds it, but insists on helping him tick off every single item. And yes, that includes the really big one, finding a lover.
Wow, okay. That sounds like the perfect recipe for some serious emotional chaos. But maybe also, a massive breakthrough.
Exactly.
We are talking about Suzume Tōjō here. He's 39, makes this list basically out of, well, sheer panic, I think. Feels his life's been way too unadventurous, especially since, he's been single for, over a decade. Probably pretty lonely.
Totally.
Okay.
And that whole emotional setup, that's the heart of what we're diving into today. It's the Japanese BL drama, 10 Things I Want to Do Before I Turn 40. But, crucially, this is an adaptation.
Right. Based on that really popular manga by Mamita, 40 made ni Shitai ten no Koto, which is much shorter.
Much shorter. So our mission today really is to unpack how they did that. How do you get from this, very concise, intimate manga, just 2 volumes, to a full 12-episode TV drama?
Yeah, we need to look past just the plot points. We want to dig into the specific differences, the trade-offs they made, maybe some surprising choices, and how all that shifted the whole romantic vibe for the audience.
For sure. We'll be focusing on things like how did the characters change, the pacing, obviously, and those really key thematic adjustments, especially around stuff like intimacy and queer identity.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's jump into that core setup. First, there's Suzume Tōjō. He's our main guy, the reserved one, played by Shunsei Kazama. Very anxious, kind of late-blooming hero type. And his list is this great mix, isn't it? Like simple things, having the takoyaki party, all the way up to that huge goal, finding a lover.
It really grounds it. And then you have the catalyst, the spark plug, maybe, Keishi Tanaka, played by Kohei Shoji, super outgoing, determined junior colleague.
He's the one who finds the list.
Yeah, accidentally. And just offers to help. But what's interesting, I think, is it's not just about his attraction to Tōjō. Maybe he's got his own stuff going on, a secret. So his enthusiasm is partly helping, partly projection.
That's a good point. So their everyday office life suddenly turns into this series of little adventures as they work through the list.
And checking things off.
Yeah. And the themes are pretty universal, right?
Yeah.
Late blooming love, the whole age gap thing, and just breaking out of a rut, feeling stuck.
Totally relatable. But like you said, the manga nails this pretty quickly in just 2 volumes, so why stretch it to 12 episodes?
Exactly.
Well, that's where the format itself tells you a lot. It's 12 episodes, right? Each about 30 minutes. That extended time just screams slow burn.
Right, you can't just rush it.
No way. The drama has to commit to that slower pace for the romance. And to make that work, you kind of have to change the characters' resistance levels, maybe add more obstacles.
Okay, that makes total sense. So let's unpack those character changes then. How did the adaptation tweak the personalities of Tōjō and Keishi? And how did that change the actual romance we see on screen?
Well, it's a classic adaptation situation, isn't it? You make choices. Let's start with Keishi Tanaka. In the manga, he is direct. The descriptions use words like brazen, shamelessly persistent.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of the tension in the manga comes from Keishi just making these bold moves that push Tōjō way out of his comfort zone pretty much right away.
But the Keishi in the drama, he feels much softer, doesn't he?
Oh, significantly softer, yeah. He's portrayed as less aggressive, definitely more subdued. Now, he's still the one doing the pursuing, the assertive one, kinda.
Kind of.
But the drama layers in this vulnerability, more nuance. His pursuit feels more considered. He's watching Tōjō's hesitations, He gives him space, he waits, he's patient.
So he becomes less of a direct pursuer and more like an emotional guide, gently leading Tōjō.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. An endearing, gentle guide.
Okay, that's fascinating. But if you soften Keishi's approach, you need tension from somewhere else, right? Especially for 12 episodes. So did they just crank up Tōjō's anxiety to compensate?
That seems to be exactly the calculation they made. It feels like a structural necessity for the longer format.
So Tōjō's anxiety, was it that much less in the manga?
Well, in the manga, yeah, he's quiet, he's reserved, but he's not completely, paralyzed by his fear of coming out or getting older. He's hesitant, sure, but the drama description, overwhelmingly hesitant. That feels specific to the show.
Right.
In the drama, his hesitation is really amplified for dramatic purposes. It says he frequently overthinks, pushes people away, shuts down. That reluctance becomes the main recurring obstacle for them as a couple.
So his whole journey gets reframed. It's less about just finding a boyfriend and more about this huge emotional breakthrough. He has to conquer all these internalized fears about aging, time running out, accepting himself.
Exactly. And the result of tweaking both characters like this, it's really important for you, the listener, to grasp the shift. The romance fundamentally moves away from that quick, intense, maybe more physically intimate manga approach. And it becomes this very deliberate, much slower burn. The focus shifts to that heartwarming feeling, watching two people navigate life changes together. It's less about the immediate heat, more about the shared journey. It feels like a choice designed specifically to fill those 12 episodes.
Okay, that makes sense structurally, which brings us right to the nuts and bolts of filling those episodes. Like you said, 2 manga volumes.
Yeah.
That's concise. You can't just stretch out the existing scenes indefinitely.
Yeah.
So how did the show actually fill that extra time? What new conflicts did they bring in to keep things going for nearly 6 hours?
Right, yeah. The primary way was through really detailed relationship building. That extra runtime let them spend real time on those smaller bucket list items, the ones that might seem mundane.
Like the takoyaki party.
Exactly. We don't just hear about it. We see them planning it, doing it. We see the comfortable silences, the little emotional shifts during the party. It makes the final connection feel, well, more earned maybe.
So you get detail, the aquarium date, even getting custom-made pillows. You see those things unfold.
Right. Those shared, almost domestic moments, they kind of substitute for the faster pacing and perhaps the more direct intimacy of the manga.
But that kind of gentle development, surely that alone can't sustain 12 episodes of drama. You need conflict, right?
Right.
Especially for TV.
Oh, absolutely. And this is probably the single biggest narrative change from the manga. The manga is almost entirely focused on the internal conflict, basically, Tōjō versus his own anxiety.
Okay.
The drama, though, it piles on significant external pressures, particularly in the workplace. And the main example, the biggest one, is a completely new character, Hayate.
Hayate. Okay, I remember him. The antagonist figure. And you're saying he wasn't in the manga at all?
Not a trace. He's introduced specifically for the show as this nosy and meddling subordinate. His whole function is to actively try and mess things up for Tōjō and Keishi, cause trouble.
Right, an external antagonist.
Exactly. Created purely for the live-action series. And it does 2 things, really. First, it gives you that week-to-week episodic tension, something concrete to worry about.
It keeps you tuning in.
Yeah. And second, it forces Tōjō and Keishi to actually deal with their relationship more publicly. They have to confront the potential awkwardness, maybe even the prejudice, of being queer in a pretty traditional workplace setting. The manga, being more internal, could mostly sidestep that.
That totally changes the structure then. You can almost see the standard TV writing template, can't you?
Yeah.
Like episodes 1 to 4 are set up, early dates.
Meet cute, awkwardness.
Then episodes 5 to 8, boom, Haye arrives.
Yeah.
Workplace tension ramps up, real external threat.
Yep, mid-season drama injection.
And then 9 to 12 deal with the climax of that conflict, the fallout, reconciliation, and the big finale. It's a classic way to stretch a story out.
It really is. And it serves that strategic purpose we talked about, trying to reach a broader, more mainstream audience, which often means when adapting things, especially on certain networks like TV Tokyo that tend to be a bit cautious, well, trade-offs happen, particularly in how certain themes get presented.
Okay, let's dive into those trade-offs, because
Yeah.
this is often where the dedicated fans of the original source material get, well, disappointed. What were the major changes the drama made when it came to intimacy and the explicit portrayal of queer identity?
Yeah, this is definitely the crux of a lot of the discussion. The drama is noticeably more chaste than the manga, which is explicit.
Or chase, okay. How so?
Well, the physical romance was handled very reservedly, extremely cautiously, you might say. There's one specific moment often mentioned, described by viewers as a fish kiss.
A fish kiss, oh dear.
Yeah. It implies, a very brief, perhaps awkward, closed mouth kind of kiss. It felt like a moment where intimacy was deliberately minimized, pulled back from.
That sounds like maybe a creative choice, trying to signal to a general audience that the focus is strictly emotional, maybe not physical or sexual. But doesn't dialing back the intimacy risk alienating the audience who comes to BL specifically for that directness, for the romance?
It absolutely does risk that. And there was criticism from some fans who felt, the genre has kind of moved past needing these overly sanitized approaches. And it wasn't just the physical intimacy. The handling of the explicit queer content also shifted quite a bit.
How did that change?
The original manga had, like, very direct conversations about being gay, about self-acceptance. It even made references to things like marriage equality, the broader societal context.
And the drama softened those, made them lighter.
Significantly more subtle, yeah. The drama went for a more ambiguous portrayal overall, which led to some concern, understandably, that the serious, grounded queer elements were being kind of diluted or maybe even removed to make it palatable for a wider viewership.
Yeah.
So instead of really digging into identity politics or the struggles of being a closeted man turning 40, the whole atmosphere was intentionally made softer.
Softer. How?
It really emphasizes the vulnerable moments, the endearing gestures. Like there's a bit where Keishi gives Tōjō these adorable penguin keychains.
Oh, okay. Cute.
Yeah, cute. It leans into that kind of sweetness, maybe even saccharine territory, instead of tackling the tougher specifics of Tojo's situation.
Right. So putting it all together then, what does this mean for someone watching or comparing the two? We've seen these huge shifts, pacing, character dynamics, like softening the pursuer, amplifying the protagonist's anxiety, adding a whole external conflict subplot that didn't exist.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like a completely different story in some ways. And yet, you said they both end up in the same place.
They do, fundamentally. And that consistency, I think, shows that the core emotional appeal is still there. It still works. Both the manga and the drama wrap up with Tōjō and Keishi becoming a couple. That final, crucial item on the bucket list, find a lover, gets checked off. Success.
Okay. But given the different journeys they took to get there, the meaning of that ending must feel different, right? The thematic resonance.
Oh, absolutely. It feels quite distinct. The manga's ending is often described as more peaceful, maybe contemplative. It resolves the romance, obviously, but it also offers a deeper, quieter reflection on what it means to be gay and find love, maybe later than you expected.
And the drama.
The drama's ending leans heavily into that soft office romance genre vibe. The resolution there feels squarely focused on Tōjō finally conquering his own internal demons, that crippling midlife crisis fear, the anxiety, that's the victory. Getting together with Keishi is almost the reward for winning that internal battle. It's about being free to pursue a happy, undramatic life.
Gotcha. So the differences really highlight those strategic adaptation choices, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
The manga aims for that dedicated BL audience. They appreciate the directness, the faster emotional payoff, the intimacy.
They know the tropes. They want the connection.
Whereas the drama targets a much wider, maybe more mainstream J-drama audience. People who prefer that slower build, the heartwarming vibe. Watching characters overcome obstacles, both internal and external, across a neat 12-episode arc.
Exactly. The adaptation was almost like a transaction. You sacrifice some of the directness, the explicit intimacy, the pointed queer themes, and in return, you get the narrative expansion and the external drama needed to fill 12 weeks of television that feels comforting and engaging for a broad audience.
It's a really fascinating case study in how things like network expectations, target audience, and episode count can fundamentally shape a story.
It truly is. And, that brings us to a final thought for you, our listeners, to sort of chew on.
Yeah.
Think about the bucket list itself. 10 things I want to do before I turn 40. It's the anchor for the whole story. In the drama especially, it got magnified. It became this roadmap, not just for Tojo's self-improvement, but really for his and Keishi's relationship development. So considering all those changes we discussed, the amplified anxiety, Hayat popping up, the slower pace was Tojo's bucket list in the drama's version, ultimately more about him actively seizing life's opportunities through these structured goals. Or was it maybe just the narrative excuse, the permission slip almost, that finally allowed this workplace romance, which was perhaps already simmering under the surface, to actually ignite?